Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Haunting of Hill House. I watched The Haunting of Hill House the weekend it came out on Netflix and I finished it within a few days. And I wasn't planning on making a review going into it. Reviews aren't my favorite type of video to make. I don't think I'm necessarily the best at them. But after watching this show, I just really wanted to talk about it. And I held off on making a review right away because I kept thinking of more things I wanted to talk about. So I kept writing down my thoughts throughout the week and I thought I would share those with you guys today. And this review is going to be totally spoiler-free. I'm not going to talk about the plot. If you decide to watch this show, I would definitely recommend going into it knowing as little as possible about the show. The Haunting of Hill House is a reimagining of Shirley Jackson's novel from 1959. It's a supernatural horror series created by Mike Flanagan. There are 10 episodes in this series and you can watch it on Netflix. I'm not sure if you can watch it anywhere else, I just watched it on there. This show follows two timelines. It follows the family while they're living in Hill House, and the second timeline shows the family in the future. So when the kids are now adults and we can see how their time living at Hill House has affected their current lives. And the show kind of weaves the two timelines together, so it's constantly jumping back and forth between the past timeline and the current timeline. Sometimes when they flash back to the past timeline, they give some hints of things that are to come, and then when they happen, you're like, oh, that's what that was about. I really like that they went this route instead of showing all of timeline 1 and then all of timeline 2, like one after the other. I think the back and forth between timelines really helps to explain things while they're happening, and it's just a more interesting way of telling the story. I like how this show balances the characters and the paranormal stuff. The main focus of this show is definitely the characters' lives, their relationships, and the issues that they're going through. The character development in the show is just amazing. And each character just has so many layers. It really makes you care about the characters as opposed to some other shows where you just really want the characters to die in the end. I feel like each of the first episodes focused on one of the siblings per episode, and then as we get further into the season, it kind of more so focuses on the family together and their relationships with each other. And I like how they made all of the characters so different. Even though they all lived at Hill House together, they all had very different experiences there. And then they're all dealing with different issues later in life too. For example, the characters are dealing with different issues like grief, addictions, guilt, and there's some mental health thrown in there too. And I think it would be kind of boring if they all had the exact same experience and if they were all dealing with the same kind of issues, so I'm glad that they kind of mixed it up and made all the characters so different. It just made it a lot more interesting to watch. I did hear a complaint from someone that they thought there were too many siblings in the show. In the beginning, I did find it kind of hard to tell who is who when they were flashing back and forth between the timelines, but after a while you do figure out who is who a little more easily. And I feel like closer to the end of the series, the relationships between all of the characters is pretty important, so I do like that they included that many characters, and the dynamics between everyone just made everything a lot more interesting. Then we have all the creepy haunting stuff going on in the background. So even though the main focus of this show is definitely on the characters, it still manages to be creepy as hell. The fact that they all have different experiences in the house and they all see different things there definitely adds to the creepy factor. The way they do it kind of makes you question what's real and what's not. Like, is this person dealing with some mental health issues, or is there something more paranormal going on here? And it's not all jump scares either, which I definitely appreciate. Some things are more subtle, like in the background, and that definitely adds to the creepiness of this show. Sometimes it's the things that you don't see that make it scarier. On the day this show was released on Netflix, I made it about halfway through episode 5. It was about 1:30 in the morning, so I decided it was time to go to bed. So at that time, I tried to go to bed, the key word there being tried. So I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and I was trying to not think about the show but I kept thinking that when I opened my eyes, I was going to see the ghost from episode 5, and it kept really freaking me out. So I'm pretty sure I was up for like half the night because I just could not sleep. And it definitely takes a lot to scare me. I'm a huge horror fan, so that's definitely saying a lot. Someone else told me that they had experienced night terrors after watching this, and their girlfriend had to wake them up several times throughout the night. And I heard the reviews of people saying that they passed out and threw up while watching this. I think that's a little bit far-fetched, but overall this is definitely the scariest show I've ever seen. And it's definitely up there with some of the scariest movies I've ever seen too. There were so many little things in this show, and I'm sure I probably missed half of them. There were some parts during the show where I thought I saw something in the background, so I had to rewind some scenes a few times to rewatch it and see what was going on in the background. So this show is definitely worth a rewatch. I feel like if I watch it a second time, I'll definitely catch things that I missed the first time around. You just can't blink when you watch this. That's not too hard, right? So you definitely have to pay attention while watching this show. If you're distracted or looking at your phone, you're definitely going to miss things. I don't know how you could get distracted while watching this show though, because it is honestly just so good. And I love how they ended the series. They did a really good job of tying up the loose ends, and I think the ending was just really impactful. I kind of want to see more, but at the same time, I'm hoping that they just don't touch it and don't do a second season because I just really love the way it ended. Overall, the production value of this show is just phenomenal. The way that all the scenes were shot was just amazing. The use of the setting, the lighting, even the camera angles all added to the creepiness. I also wanted to mention the casting for this show. All of the actors did such an amazing job. I thought the actress that played Theo looked so familiar, and then I realized that she's the main character in the movie Hush, so I thought that was pretty cool. I also wanted to give a shout out to the kids in this show. Sometimes if kids aren't the best actors, it can kind of take away from the story, but the kids in this show did such a great job. So yeah, the casting for this show was definitely great. And Stephen King even tweeted about this show, so I'm gonna read his tweet. He said, "The Haunting of Hill House, revised and remodeled by Mike Flanagan. I don't usually care for this kind of revisionism, but this is great. Close to a work of genius, really. I think Shirley Jackson would approve, but who knows for sure." That is such a huge compliment coming from Stephen King. You just know it's good if the King of Horror approves. So overall, I would definitely recommend The Haunting of Hill House. They did a phenomenal job on it, and it's definitely worth watching. And I feel like you don't necessarily need to be a horror fan to like this show. There are just so many different elements to this show, so even if horror isn't really your thing, you should definitely give it a chance. Have you guys seen The Haunting of Hill House? If so, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And please make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.